Hey guys, Widgets here. Today I wanna try something new with you. I wanna do a raw, one-take recording of me building a map right here in the app. This is usually when I catch the most bugs or find things I would like to add. So let's test this together. Let's build a map from start to finish. I'll share a bit of my process, talk about the tools I use, and best of all, I'm only gonna use the starter pack for this one. It's gonna be a super simple map. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Alright, let's get to it. Like I mentioned, I wanna build this from start to finish, so we are starting from scratch. I actually want to show you the asset import process, so I have set up a map here. It's not too big, just something simple I can knock out quickly. I'm opening MapForge, and as you can see, I have 0 assets. No floors, no walls, no objects, no paths and lines, nothing. So let's start by importing the pack. Head over to the Assets tab. I'm going to import the starter pack. It's a .mf pack, or very first one. So MapForge pack. Click the button, select the file, give it a sec to process the files, and done. See? Super fast. That's 2305 assets imported. Now, if I go to the Floors tab, the pack's floors are already there. Same thing for walls, objects, and paths and lines. Sometimes it takes a moment to load the previews, since I just added them. Perfect. We have got a great base. Asset pack is in. Now let's build your map. I really recommend that your map building process, at least with this pack, and maybe MapForge in general, starts with the floors. Get a solid idea of what you want to tackle, but try to tackle the floors first. This tab is sometimes the most sensitive part of the app, because it handles blending multiple textures. So you wanna nail that down, save your progress, and then move on to the safer, easier layers. So what I'm gonna do here? I think for this video something I can knock out quickly is a cabin in the woods. Let's give it a little backstory. This is a battle map, so I'm expecting combat. It is a hideout for a thief or an assassin. I want it to have some mood and feel a bit tenser for the players. Let's pick our textures, shall we? Since we are in the middle of the woods, I'll start with a grass texture. I got a few options here, definitely not doing snow. To show you guys how to build more complex terrain, I'll stick to this standard grass. It has more variation, so look at this. Nice green grass. I know I like this one. Let's grab some dirty too. This dirty mud, yeah, I really like the color of this one. I'm just saving the stuff I use the most up here in my quick brushes. So I got grass, I got mud, what else? Let's make the terrain a bit richer. Let's grab some water. I simplified these textures a bit. Looking at the options, I think this water tree looks interesting. Let me save that one too. What else might I need? Maybe some stone? Whoops, typo there, but it found anyway. I'm torn between these two. Let's go with this one. This is stone based too. So we got grass, dirty, water, stone. Let's expand our palette a little bit. I want one more thing. Let's grab this long grass. That way we can add some texture variety to the grassy areas. Perfect. For the floor inside our Bandit hideout. Actually, not really a cabin. Maybe more like a shed. Let's look at wood. Actually, let's search plank. I'm debating between this broken one and the darker one. I think I'll go with the darker one. Alright, I think that's it. We have selected the textures we are gonna use to paint this map in MapForge. Up here in the top right, top right, you got both your brush settings and your current texture options. Let's test the grass to see if the scale is right. Gonna increase the brush size a bit. Okay, that works. We stick with that. Now let's talk about... Actually, let me undo that. Let's talk about my choices here. Depending on the asset pack, you might need a brush with zero hardness to blend texture smoothly. I don't think that's the case with the starter pack. I prefer to do it differently. I crank the hardness way up, keep the texture almost solid, because the art style is so clean that I handle the blending, the transition between the hands, using paths and lines later. Let's sketch out a simple layout for our scene, shall we? Starting with dirt is probably easiest. Players enter from down here. Okay, maybe the path curves a little bit like this, and they arrive up here where we will have the little hut, the shed where the bandit is hiding. I think this works as the main path. Now let's grab the water. For some visual variety, we can put a tiny little pond right here in the corner. Tiny pond. Alright, on the other side of the map, maybe we want a stony cliff. Let me paint that in. Just adding some contrast to make the map look rich. Nice. Now let's add the grass. I'll start with this small brush, just marking the terrain for now, just super simple. All of this is gonna be grass. This is where my forest will be. Maybe I'll expand that stone section later, we'll see. Wait, let me make this brush bigger or this is gonna take all day. Something like this. It's super rough, we can fine-tune it later. This is just blocking it out so we can visualize the map, okay? Same thing on the side. I have almost no desk space here, so my mouse movement is a real struggle right now. But we are almost done. Done! Cool! Now just some fine adjustments. Maybe widen the dirt path here so it doesn't look so narrow. I can paint inside here too, even though I will cover it with the floor later. Just so we have the natural base of the map complete. Alright, so guys, here's the basic layout of the map. When we zoom in, and by the way, controls in MapForge are super easy. Hold right click to pan, scroll wheel to zoom. Oops, just spotted a tiny spot to fix right here. Perfect. So looking at it now, it's pretty basic, right? You can see these little waves from the brush strokes, it's not exactly pretty, but when I reach this stage and I'm happy with the map, actually, wait, I'm not happy yet. I wanna expand this stone section a bit, make it visually more interesting. Let's make a cliff face like this. Nice. Yeah, this is looking... Let me just shrink the brush a tad so I don't make it all crooked. There we go. This is looking much better for a cliff wall. Okay, once you are happy with your terrain, and I'm finally at a stage where I'm happy, what do I recommend? Hit that flatten button. Like I said, the floor tab is the most sensitive part of the module. If you run into an issue, find a bug, and have to restart MapForge, you might come back to find you have lost some brush strokes because they save individually. And since this isn't exactly a small map, to avoid saving hundreds of strokes and to guarantee we don't lose anything, what does it actually do? It bakes all your brush strokes into a single PNG image. Save it. Zero chances of losing work. If you need to restart for any reason, and done. Super quick. Now, let's make this look good, shall we? In this art style, like I said, normally you might blend textures, but what I really love is using path and lines for this style. How does it work? Every natural terrain comes with a specific path and line asset, sometimes multiple options for variety, because let's be honest, looking at the map right now, it's ugly, it's flat. So let's start with the grass. I used grass green. See this? This is a path line. It creates this little edge. It has elevation options, sometimes multiple ones. So let's grab one. This is gonna completely change the look of the map. Okay, place a test one. Wrong rotation. Let me fix that in the top panel. And size, let me see. Size is okay. Maybe a tiny bit bigger. I can tweak the thickness right here. Yeah, I like that better. Now, here's what I do. I start drawing a path around the grass. The rule of thumb is pick the texture that sits higher to be your path, so it overlaps the lower one. Since I want the grass to spill over the dirt, I'm using the grass path. The starter pack has dirty paths too, but for that grass blades effect on top of the mud, this is the way to do it. It looks really nice in the end. Look at that beauty. I can come back later and fix these little bits that went wide. But you get the idea. That is the effect we want. Let's pick up where we left off. Maybe start from this exact spot a bit higher up. This is actually a good test. Since I used Flatten, how does a new layer of terrain behave on top? Will it work? Important to test. So I'm doing this pretty roughly right now. I'll fix it later. I'm trying to be careful because if you make crazy sharp curves, you end up with an ugly line. It warps the texture, right? But I keep an eye out for that. If it happens, I just place an object or a rock there to hide it. It's a good trick. You can't avoid every imperfection, but you can hide them with interesting choices. This paths and lines step, yeah, it takes a little work, but honestly, I think it's way faster than spending hours trying to find the perfect texture blend manually. Look at that. It already gives the map a totally different vibe. Remember how I mentioned we have paths and lines for every natural terrain? We did the grass, we'll fix the brushes later, so let's move to the water path. We have some cool options here. What effect do you want? Flat edge or something with a bit of height? let's try this one. Zooming in to check the direction. Direction is wrong. I can do two things. Either start drawing from the other end, top right instead of bottom left, or I can rotate the texture. I'll just draw from the other side. Also, I can already tell I need to bump up the size a bit. There we go. Now, see these little lines popping up in the texture? They can be a real pain. Sometimes you can't help it. It happens because the base texture gets distorted on the curve. But hey, the edge effect itself looks cool. Now, let's try to fix those ugly lines. Let's see if we can paint over them. Grab my brush, keep it small. Perfect, I can paint. Let's do a light pass. Gosh. Since this belongs to the path object that sits on a higher layer than the floor, I might not be able to fully hide them. You gotta be careful with paths and lines to minimize these artifacts. In this case, I think I'm gonna leave it. It's water, so it's kinda look like cliff details or foam. It's fine. But depending on the texture you are using, this could break the illusion. Let's tie up the grass edges now. We might have the same lines issue with the stone cliff later, since it's a big texture. But let's see. Fixing the grass here. Just swapping between grass and dirt brushes to blend it. Here too. Any other spots? Up here. By the way, you can always hit flatten again later, no problem, you'll not lose anything. Oh, see these spots? I'm gonna hide that with an object later. Here I can fix it. Actually, I see a few things, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'll let it slide. These are just details to make it pretty. The more effort you put in, the better the final result. Especially when we got to lighting and shadows. But look at that! We got the water path in. Look at the difference it makes combined with the grass path. Oops! That one spot is really standing out. But look at the difference. Wow! Let's tackle that stone cliff. Stone. Let's pick one I like. And could have grabbed that mossy stone. Pretty cool. Tell you what, I'll start the path on the edge. Same as before. You might notice the lines stop updating. I did that for performance at some point, but once you drop the texture, it shows up nicely. Wait, I don't think I picked the exact same stone texture here, huh? Now for the stone wall. Whoops, wrong direction. Let me just flip that. And there goes our big wall. Actually, I think it needs to be bigger. Let me cancel that. I'm gonna crank the thickness way up to almost 400. Let's see if that gives us a cool effect. Oops, didn't connect there. This little corner. I know. I'll add a transition at the start. Set to grow so the texture scales up. Let's see if that fixes the corner. Oh, nice. Very nice. Now it really looks like we have a massive stone cliff in this corner. Let me search for a stone path. This one. There is a little issue with the transition. It's not matching perfectly with our chosen stone. Let me find the perfect texture. found a bug. Let me put a bug counter on the screen. It wasn't letting me type stone. Got it now. I think the search triggered too fast. Definitely something to improve later. That goes into the bug counter and my little notebook of future fixes. Let's see if this texture blends better. Oh, it does! I'll leave the bottom parts with this new texture and keep the top as is. I think it looks cool. It's gonna create a nice effect. Look at the difference. I think our terrain is ready. It's a solid base. Give us everything we need. All done using just floors and paths. It's all about details. Before we start dropping in objects, I think we should worry a bit about light and shadows. We have a dedicated tab just for that. Let's run a test. Here's another bug for the counter because, damn, the way these panels work is a bit chaotic sometimes. There is definitely some spaghetti code here, guys. So, bug counter +1. I will fix this later. But for now, let's hit the flats again. Perfect, no issues. So if the module crashes or my power goes out, I'm safe. Now, painting shadows. We have brush and edge options. I'll stick with the brush. Now, height is super important here. I want a shadow underneath this cliff. When I place the path line, its height was set to 5. I check at the right panel. So I need to paint below that. Maybe ground level? Actually, let's go with 3. That way, I can still put objects on layer 1 or 2 below the shadow. Opacity way down, softness way up. And I will paint a little shadow here. Subtle effects. Maybe one more layer. Keep it subtle. Turning it off. Turning it on. Another bug for the list. It was marked as off, but I could still see my shadows. That's bug number 3 in the counter. Man. But look. It gives this subtle depth. It's always about painting light. To make it even better, I'll add a bit to the bottom part of the cliff itself. So, if the path is at 5, I'll paint the shadow at height 6. Just a little touch here to darken the base. Off, on. Very good. Now I can grab the eraser, just to protect the high spots where the light hits. I want depth. Just a light cleanup on the edge. Off, on, a little more here, opacity is very low. There. I like this. We have the base of our terrain. Now we have some choices. Do we start placing natural objects outside or do we build the house? I think placing the natural stuff first makes sense. But before that, let's talk about lighting. It's all about light, and defining it before placing objects is crucial because of shadows. I'm thinking night scene. Maybe a bluish tone. So I am in the lighting tab, darkening the scene, adding a blue tint. I like this natural blend mode. And under atmosphere, let's add a vignette, gives it a nice focus, maybe a little grain, tweak the temperature, saturation, contrast. I like it, perfect. Now imagine the light source, maybe just moonlight. If it's just moonlight, I'll brighten the darkness a tiny bit. We need to pick a shadow direction. Let's stick with moonlight outside, and inside the hut we'll have a torch or a candle or a campfire later. Let's plant some trees. This is another moment to think about height. Trees are usually the tallest objects on the terrain, so before I place one, I'm setting it to height 9. It goes way up. Then for its shadow, that's this layer here, I'll set it to height 8. If the tree is at 9, the shadow sits just below at 8. And why so high? So if I put a rock or a bush under the tree shadow fall on top of it. Let's see that in action. Searching for tree. Let's stick to a standard green forest here. Here we go. First tree, plus its shadow. Let me adjust the shadow position, keep it tight. Maybe increase the blur a bit. Even if the moon is overhead, I like a visible shadow. Maybe angling down like this. Nice. Let's add a few more. One here. Here. One here. Let's make this one bigger. Alt scroll to resize. It casts a shadow over the lake. Looks cool. Another green one in the corner. One more here. Notice all shadows are facing the same way. Now for variety, let's rotate this one. Maybe make it smaller. I'll set this smaller tree to height 7 and its shadow to height 6. Why? So it sits under that big tree at 9. See? The big tree shadows fall on top of the small tree canopy, but the small tree still casts its own shadow on the ground. One thing I love about this pack is that you don't need a million assets. Simplicity works. Adding another tree here, just a few trees, some terrain painting, looking like a proper forest around his hideout. Oops, one thing I missed. When I rotate the tree, the shadow rotates too. Gotta make sure they all align. Nope, that one is too close. Move it here, otherwise I won't have room for the house. Oh, another bug. Sometimes a thumbnail gets stuck on the screen. The fix, I just mouse over another texture and it vanishes. Still a bug though. Gotta fix that. But look at that beauty. A few trees, some terrain work, and we have already something really interesting to play with. Now for the smaller objects, that's where your creativity comes in. Since it's a natural environment, I really like the boulders we have. In this version of the starter pack, we have all kinds of stone. Basalt, granite, meteor, quartzite, sandstone, and there is more. I'm gonna grab the mossy stone. I love this one. Here we go, mossy. Let's find a spot for a rock texture I like. Maybe up here, make it smaller. You know the drill. Alt scroll to scale. Hold Ctrl to rotate a bit. Just gotta make sure the shadow aligns with the rest of the outdoor stuff. Maybe place it right here. See? It starts to frame the terrain nicely. I think that works. Like I said, we don't need a ton of assets, but maybe let's bring in a little pop of color. Flowers. Yeah, these little head ones are cute. Let's place a few. Gotta tighten that shadow. Since it's a tiny object, the full shadow position was way too far out. Scattering a few around. Nice near the lake. Just a touch of red, but I don't want to overdo it. I could have lowered their heights layer. Actually, since they are tiny, they should technically sit below everything else. But I don't want to change the vibe too much. Players are fighting a villain here, right? So I want to keep that tense atmosphere, not make a garden. So 4 flowers, some trees, a boulder. I'm really digging this terrain. But let's add one more detail for variety. Maybe a fallen log? Let's check the tags. Whoops. Search results show me something from another tab there. Okay, add that to the bug counter. This falling log looks good. If I place it really low on the ground, shadow tight, interacting with the tree shadow, does that work? Let's see. Yeah. Tuck it a bit more under the tree, so it really looks like it's underneath it. I like that. You can spend hours on details, but I want to show you how simple it can be. Let's build the interior now. The outside is looking very good. Well, varied. Lake, rocks, trees. Oops, I think I dropped another log over there by mistake. Actually, that doesn't look half bad. Let me check moss one last time. Maybe one more rock down here. Just for variety. Okay, I'm done. It looks great. Now, shall we build our bandit friend's cabin? For the cabin, I'm thinking more like a shed. I went to the walls tab, searched for wood, bound to find something. Which one is good? Rustic dark wood. Yeah, has the vibe I like it. Gonna build a simple little shed here, or shed actually. Okay. Wall placed. Now this part gives me anxiety. Positioning doors and walls. Why? Because this used to be super buggy. It's on my latest hotfix list, so it should be fixed. If not, well, that's a problem for another day. The bug was, drop a door and the other walls would vanish. Let's test it. Ha! Worked perfectly. It left the gap for the object right there. Let's try a window too. I'm feeling brave. Yes, nailed. And how do we check if it really worked? Click here, show wall lines, to see the technical Foundry lines. So wall, window, which you can see through, and door. Perfect. So we have the layout for our bandit's hideout. For texture time, I can show you guys something pretty cool. I already saved the floor texture. Now, this is a super geometric, rectangular space. I could paint it, but that takes work. So instead, I'll click Shape Fill Tools. Draw this rectangle exactly where I need it. Boom! Auto-fills the floor texture. Very cool, right? Now let's place the actual door and windows. They are objects. The technical wall gap is there. Now we just place the prop. No shadow needed. Searching for door. Now, doors are fun because I played with angles here. I like to give options. You have the standard top-down way, just a strip of wood. You get that that is a door. But I really like using this canonical angle. It allows for a crazy door that, look at this. You can actually see the door. It reads better than just a strip. I personally love the effect this has on the map. Finding the perfect size. Maybe like this. Wood texture is a bit different. I guess I will stick with this one. Note to self, make more door options. But yeah, I dig it. It looks like you are seeing it from above, but also a bit from the front. Great readability for the players. But for those who hate it and want the correct perspective, we have those too, okay? Now the window, same deal. Different options. Will the shed have glass? I don't know. Let's test this one. Same thing, different angle. Technically wrong, but I might make this the standard. Oops, wrong side. Let me zoom in. Facing outside. Here. I like it. Gives a different effect. Broken window, Bandit's house, cool angle. So, standard layout. I like it. But what do I hate? These curves on the wood. These curves kill me. And this one didn't even curve. It's just two lines meeting, creating that ugly joint. To fix that, we have an object. I totally forgot the English name I gave it. These shapes here, primitives. If I search for primitives, it shows me a bunch of useful options for building stuff. Since the house is wood, totally wood, I can use these oak primitives, which match the wall texture perfectly. I'll place them in the corners to look like support beams or logs, and just like that, it hides those curvy joints that drive me crazy. Done. Now we have the structure of our villain's cabin. Pretty cute, right? Now for the interior, what is my number one tip? Start with the light. Why? Because indoors, unlike the moonlight outside which hits everything, shadows react specifically to where your light source is. So I always place the light first. So what am I gonna do? Go to objects, search for crate, grab a simple one, maybe this one, scale it down, put it in the corner, then I'll search for candle and put a lit candle on top of it. Let's check the height. If I put the crate at height 3, the candle can go to height 5. no shadow needed for the candle itself, right? Since it is the light source. So candle at 5, look at that beauty. Cradle, candle on top. Now I will actually place a light source effect right on top of our candle object. I like warmer light, so I right click the light, hit configure, and shift this to a warmer tone. Let's take a look. Ah, very nice. Does it look like a candle? Yeah, I like it. Maybe just a bit more color. There, perfect. Light source is placed. Very interesting start. Let's start filling up this shed. First, a bed. Something super simple, really poor looking. Let me check the assets. Wait. It showed me bedroom furniture because I search up here. If I cancel that and search by tag for bed, it filters nicely. Yeah. This crappy little mattress is perfect. Sizing it up. Enable shadow. And remember, the shadow moves away from the light. So if I place it in this left corner, I adjust the shadow to fall towards the wall, away from our candle. Perfect. Now behind the bed, maybe some crates. Keep it simple. This one looks good. Fits his vibe. Shrink it down, and if I tuck it slightly under the bed, visually it looks cool. So height at 4, shadow at 2 is fine. Just make sure the shadow direction matches the light source. Place it there. Tuck it away like a hidden stash. Nice. Actually, maybe even smaller. Yeah, I like that better. Let's add another crate here. Shadow position looks right. Moving away from the light. Wait, let's make it perfect. Nudge it a bit. Zoom in. I want this shadow to pop more since it's close to the light source. Reduce the blur. Crank up the opacity. Make it dark. Now I see it. Much better. What else? A barrel. Searching for an interesting one. Maybe this old one. When you are placing this, think about gameplay. This is a Battlemap. Players can use these objects for cover or they can block movement. So crates, barrels, they add tactical depth. Now for the loot. I know there is a sack with some coins spilling out. That's what the players are here for. Let's toss it in the corner. Shadow away from the light. It's a tiny object, so adjusting the shadow requires surgical precision. But got it. Look at that, it's coming together. Let's check the campsite tag. Maybe his backpack. Standing up. Tiny. In the corner. Height 4 is fine. Just another thing for players to look later. This campsite tag is gold for this kind of map. Loading more objects. This open. Empty box is cool. Remember, he's a fugitive. He's poor. He doesn't have much. But these empty containers add clutter and difficulty to the terrain. Maybe another sack here. Place it lower, height-wise, so the crate looks bigger next to it. Very cool. I don't want to overfill it, but maybe some food or drink. Let's see. A beer mug. This guy drinks. Scale that beauty down. Tiny. Now I want it on top of the crate. So height 7 for the mug. Shadow at 6. This shadow is what sells the illusion here. Again, tiny object, hard to grab. Wait a sec. The shadow is invisible. Let me kill the blur. Make it darker. Ah, there we go. An almost solid little shadow. That works. So, let's say your little cabin is done. Or is it? Man, I would still add a few details. But in the end, it's all about painting light and shadows. Let's use the Edge Shadow tool now. I have a few options here. I'll stick with hard. I want to apply this to the corner of the walls. I just love the effect it gives. Turning it off. I'll start right where the darkness begins and drag it here too. Off, on. See? It's subtle, but for me, it makes a huge difference. Whoops, placed that one slightly wrong. Let me grab the eraser. Brush eraser, not the edge tool. Let's try again. Right spot on the wall. Nope, wrong direction. Let me erase. Okay. Edge tool. Bottom to top. That's it. Keeping it tight to the wall this time. Nice. I think it adds a whole new depth to the wall. Now I'll do the same for the bed. Only up to this light point. Will it blend nicely? Ah, it went under the bed. Not terrible, but let's set it to height 10, just to make sure it sits on top of the bed. Drag it to about here. Off, on. See that? Subtle, but man, it catches my eye. I like it. You can even do this for objects, like this barrel. If you didn't want to use the built-in shadow, you could draw it manually, like this. Obviously underneath the barrel, right? Let me stop being an idiot and erase that. Shrink the tool. Here, under the barrel. Gives a nice grounded shadow effect too. It's a handy trick for drawing custom effects on your map. And we can always do a little painting, just to pop the objects in the back. Let's change height to 2, since I know that layer is empty, and paint underneath here, in this corner. Off, on, maybe a light touch on this crate. Oops, too much. Eraser, lower the opacity. We want subtle. Off, on, see? Very subtle, very subtle. And besides shadow, we can paint light. Let's pick a nice light color. Bigger brush, and just brighten up this area a bit. Does it look cool? Maybe the corner of this crate too, since it's catching the light directly. This whole corner. Off, on. Wow, big difference. Now let's zoom out and look at the whole map. Look at this little map we made, guys. What a cutie. Super fast, chatting with you, sharing my process. A battle map built from start to finish, perfect for a low level session, takes you less than an hour to make. And I think it's super visually pleasing. Sometimes, for a final touch, we can't do it in MapForge yet, but I like adding rain effect or something like that on top. That's it. Let's appreciate our little map here. Center nicely on the screen. Hope you guys enjoy it. I am Widgets, and this was our first start to finish map creation tutorial. A few bugs pop up, sure, but for the most part, I think it was a pretty smooth experience. A few things to tweak. MapForge and the starter pack are available on my Patron, check it in. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next releases. Hope you like it. See you in the next video.